This is honest to goodness the sound that gives SLPs not necessarily a bad rep, but it's how those that don't know us. Hello everyone, I'm Janelle in SLP Peep, and today and for this month we are talking about articulation. And today's about the sound. Sad day. Here on this channel we talk about all things speech-language pathology related. Last month we talked about what to do when you graduate. If you were interested in this information, please consider hitting the like and subscribe button, and we're going to pretty much move on from now. The sound is prominent wherever you go. It's really hard to make a sentence without a in it unless you're putting thought into it, into avoiding the sound altogether. And if a speech-language pathologist is working in a pediatric field, there's pretty much 0% chance, in all honesty, it's probably 0.05% chance they will not have to target Now, why is R so not loved at all? With the exception of being one of the most difficult sounds to reach, it is one of the most common sounds that speech-language pathologists are to work on, either because of school district or insurance companies. We just have to work on it so much, and it's frustrating for so many people. And the fact that it's everywhere means either this child who is targeting they ingrain it in their head so much more on how not to do it, or they ingrain it in their head that they are so frustrated by it because it is everywhere. Like, not for nothing, but I do have a kid that was so frustrated with it, and then he found out as soon as he masters the he can graduate from speech, and he is so motivated by that is how he's not getting frustrated. Now, I'm not going to get too much into how to produce a good R sound for a few reasons. One of which, there are two main ways to make R. The R's that I'm going to go over are more retroflex R and bunched R. And I could give love to one of these more than the other. For those that already know how to make the L, the retroflex might be the first easy way to get Put your tongue up to the L position, and as I instruct kids, you feel that little bump, i.e. the alveolar ridge. You move your tongue up that bump and you hold it up there. Sometimes you have to adjust it a little bit, but that's where your R is. That's where AR is. Wow, it sounds like I'm just throwing out letters for fun. Now, I do have some caution with this. A lot of kids, they go, oh, all I have to do is flip it back, and they don't control their tongue enough to not flip it all the way back. What do I mean about this? Take a listen to this. Now, for those that heard it, I did make an very clearly towards the beginning. I went from to and then my tongue just went back more and more into the hard palate, reaching for the soft palate. Now, it took me a while to figure out what was happening to some of these kids when they were doing the retroflex R, and it sounded like they just needed to reach a little bit more. And each time they reach, I was getting flustered, thinking, what is wrong with this situation? Why are they not reaching? And it turns out they are reaching for the soft palate. With this one child that I'm thinking of in particular, I looked in her tongue, realized she was flipping it back, and I said, okay, bring it back forward, brought it forward. I was like, I think you're reaching too much. And then we worked from L to R. She automatically wanted to go back, and I told her to stop, bring it back forward, and together we found out where that sweet spot is. Now that's retroflex. Bunched R sounds so much less scientific, but it's the harder one to do. The bunched R is when you get the back of your tongue and you lift it up towards your top back teeth. Unlike it's more along the lines pronounced as Now this one is harder for a lot of kids to reach because, again, it involves that control of the tongue. There are different ways to do this, and most of the time I do something different every time. Generally, I do have an anatomy lesson because there are things online about how to help people do the R sounds. Like, put this in your mouth and it should work. I'm gonna do one. I've done this once before, and it's when my coworker brought it up to me. It was like, have you heard of this? No, I haven't. What is it? Apparently, you put this candy in your mouth and you make a bridge with it at the top of the mouth, and it should help you produce the sound. Really? Do you have the candy with you? I have two. She actually had like a whole bag, but I grabbed two. So hypothetically for this, what you do is you get licorice and you make a bridge at the roof of your mouth. This is where it gets fun. Put this back of the tongue, you lift it up, and it's more tactile so kids could feel it, but that's all it does. In fact, if you put this in the back of your mouth and you try to produce an R, it still doesn't sound the best, partially because there's now different air gaps and you have something in your mouth. It's a great way to feel it, yes, but to get that practice in, you then have to hope that your child does not eat the candy. That's why they don't last, because once it gets in my mouth, it's gone. Now, the funny part about this was when I first heard about this, it mentioned nothing about not talking. And so there was no clear instructions or anything else. My friend and I both were like, what do I do? We thought it was for Retroflex, not Bunch, so you can imagine all the crazy stuff that happened. And because we were very confused, we gagged. So if you find a tool, something that says they're going to help you, try it out yourself first and figure out, does this make sense? Is this a lot harder than it should be? Is this going to frustrate a person more? Sure, there's candy involved, but is it even worth it? I hope you learned something new, and I hope today was kind of fun as well. For the question of the day, what was the hardest word you had to learn that had the sound in it? Mine that I'm going to share today is scroll. Not squirrel. I was able to do that word no problem, but scroll. Put your answers down below. I hope you have a terrific day, and until next time, bye-bye.